Right now, beneath one of the most densely packed cities on Earth, people are commuting through corridors wider than a two-lane highway. But those corridors are not just carrying trains. They are carrying electricity, fiber-optic cables, fresh water, sewage, heating pipes, and data infrastructure, all bundled into a single engineered tunnel running deep underground. Nobody on the surface sees any of it. Nobody needs to. Shanghai has been quietly building what urban planners now call the most complex underground system ever constructed beneath a single city. Not just a subway, a fully layered, integrated subterranean network where metro lines sit on top of utility galleries, which sit on top of underground expressways, which sit on top of logistics corridors stacked between 5 and 60 meters below street level. The Shanghai Metro alone now stretches 831 kilometers across 20 lines. That makes it the longest metro network on the planet, longer than the London Underground, the New York Subway, and the Paris Metro combined, in a system that did not even exist until 1993. But the metro is just the visible layer. Below it, something else entirely has been taking shape. What it actually costs to build above ground to understand why Shanghai's underground matters to someone in Chicago or Hamburg, you need to understand what a city built on top of its own infrastructure actually costs. Every year in New York, when a water main bursts beneath a street, crews do not just fix a pipe. They jackhammer asphalt, redirect traffic, and spend days untangling century-old infrastructure laid by different agencies in different decades, with no coordination and no master plan. The 2023 water main break on Fifth Avenue disrupted over a mile of traffic for days. New York's water infrastructure alone carries an estimated repair backlog of over $30 billion. London's Victorian-era sewer system, still partially in use today, was designed for a city of 4 million people. London now holds 9 million. The problem is not that Western cities did not build underground infrastructure. They did. The problem is they built it layer by layer, agency by agency, across 150 years, with no unified plan and no space left to fix anything properly. China looked at that and decided to skip that entire era entirely. The decision to build downward in 2015, China's State Council made underground utility corridors a national infrastructure priority. 30 pilot cities were selected. Shanghai became the primary proving ground, partly because its geology made surface construction expensive and unstable, and partly because its urban density had already made above-ground expansion functionally impossible. But Shanghai's underground story starts earlier. The year is 2000. The entire metro network was just 65 kilometers, serving a city already home to more than 13 million people. Average road speeds in central Shanghai had fallen below 15 kilometers per hour during peak hours. The city was becoming gridlocked, and it had decades of growth still ahead. The decision was made. Shanghai would build downward, not as an afterthought, as a plan. Between 2000 and 2010, Shanghai added approximately 340 kilometers of metro track, built underground in a single decade beneath one of the most geologically complex sites on Earth. Building through wet cement, Shanghai sits on the Yangtze River Delta, a vast, water-saturated alluvial plain. The ground beneath the city is not rock. It is layers of soft clay, silt, and sand compressed over millennia. Boring a tunnel through this material is like trying to carve a corridor through wet cement. The walls want to move, the ground wants to shift. The water table is never far away. The Yangtze River Tunnel, completed in 2009, required drilling through 7.5 kilometers of river-bottom silt at depths reaching 70 meters below the waterline. Engineers used pressurized tunnel boring machines custom-designed for that specific soil composition. Crews monitored ground settlement in millimeters because in Shanghai's soft ground, a variance of just a few centimeters above a bored tunnel can cause the surface above to sink. And Shanghai has sunk. The city has subsided in some areas by more than 2 meters over the past century, a consequence of groundwater extraction and the sheer weight of its own buildings. Underground construction had to account for a city that was literally slowly sinking beneath itself. The failure that made everything better in 2003, during construction of Metro Line 4, a tunnel section near the Huangpu River suffered a catastrophic breach. Water and silt poured in. Buildings in the surrounding area sustained structural damage. The tunnel section had to be sealed. Construction halted for months. That breach became a turning point. From that single failure, Shanghai developed stricter real-time ground monitoring protocols that are now standard for major tunnel projects across all of China. One collapsed tunnel section eventually made 831 kilometers of metro safer. By 2010, Shanghai's metro had reached 407 kilometers. By 2020, it crossed 700. By the end of 2023, it stood at 831 kilometers with multiple new lines already under construction. The network nobody ever sees the metro is the network people use. The utility galleries are the network most people never hear about, and they may be the more important of the two. After the 2015 national directive, Shanghai began constructing integrated pipe corridors tunnels, typically 3 to 5 meters in diameter. Purpose-built to house electricity cables, fiber-optic lines, water supply pipes, gas lines, and district heating infrastructure, all organized inside one single underground corridor. The economic logic is blunt. Dig once, install everything, seal it. When something needs maintenance, send a crew into the gallery. No jackhammers, no lane closures, no destroying a road to find a broken pipe. The Zhangjiang Science City District in Pudong became one of the most ambitious testbeds underground corridors, integrated with the metro, underground parking, and pedestrian walkways, all coordinated in a single plan developed before a single building on the surface was constructed. The infrastructure came first. The city came second. This reversal infrastructure before buildings, underground before above ground, is what separates Shanghai's approach from every major Western urban expansion in the last century. The gap Western cities cannot close Shanghai is not a standalone experiment. It is a prototype. The program has been replicated in Beijing, Shenzhen, Chengdu, and Shanghan, a newly constructed city rising from the North China Plain, designed entirely with underground infrastructure as its primary layer from day one. No legacy infrastructure. No retrofitting. Here is the uncomfortable reality for Western cities. Underground construction makes coordination the only thing that matters. A utility gallery beneath a street requires every agency that owns infrastructure in that corridor to agree on standards, placement, access, and cost sharing before the first shovel moves. In American cities, those agencies include municipal water authorities, private gas utilities, federally regulated electricity providers, telecommunications companies under different franchises, and transit authorities with entirely separate governance structures. Getting all of them to agree in advance to share a tunnel is not an engineering problem. It is a political problem, and American cities have simply not solved it. The 2nd Avenue subway in New York, a 3.2-kilometer extension, took over 50 years from original proposal to Phase 1 completion. Shanghai built more than 400 kilometers of metro in roughly the same decade. That is not a funding gap. That is a systems gap. What Shanghai is building next by 2035, Shanghai plans a functional underground logistics network, automated vehicles, moving freight through dedicated subterranean corridors, keeping delivery trucks off surface roads entirely. The corridors are already being designed around it. A city of 25 million people where packages move underground, utilities run in organized corridors, and the surface is freed for what cities are actually supposed to enable. Parks, pedestrians, trees, air. Western cities tore out their transit networks in the mid-20th century to make room for cars. Shanghai buried its infrastructure to make room for people. The first city to find out what a truly underground-powered metropolis feels like is not London. It is not New York. It is not Tokyo. It is a city built on silt, on a river delta, in a country that looked at 150 years of Western urban planning and decided to start from scratch. Subscribe and hit the bell. Drop in the comments, could your city ever build something like this? Or is the political coordination problem already too far gone?